Hello everyone. Today I am here again with another reading video, and today we are going to cover this reading which is named as This Marvellous Invention. And this time we are going to cover list of headings, as list of headings are also considered difficult by most of the students. So let's start with this one. So we have 6 questions, as there are 6 paragraphs in the reading. So how to solve headings basically. So we'll just go to passage, the paragraph number A, and then we will form the summary of this one. Maybe as this is a paragraph of just 6 lines, so we will form 2 sub-summaries, summary 1 and summary 2. That is, what's the crux of these 3 lines, and then what's the crux of these 3 lines. Whatever comes is going to be the crux of this paragraph. Similarly, if the paragraph is longer, so we can have 3 sub-summaries. For example, in these few lines, and then these lines, and then these lines. You'll be amazed to see that the sub-summaries are automatically linked. And when we just combine these ones, we'll get one summary. And that is going to be your answer. So you can't just guess the answer in these type of questions. You would have to read the paragraph, understand it, find the summary, sub-summaries first of all, and then you'll be able to reach the summary, and that's going to be your correct answer. So let's start with very first question, which is question number 27. Alright, so let's start reading. Of all mankind's manifold creations, language must take pride of place. Other inventions, the wheel, agriculture, sliced bread, may have transformed our material existence, but the advent of language is what made us human. Alright, so in these 3 lines, just see, they're talking about language. That language is, mankind's creation, and which we are proud of basically. And then it talks about other inventions, which are these ones. So it says that these inventions may have transformed our material existence. So these are all related to material. But the advent of language, now here comes the language again, is what made us human. Alright, so what he's talking about inventions. So he's giving a lot of inventions, and then he is favoring language as one of the inventions, because of which we are human today. Alright, so this is the sub-summary, and now let's move towards the next one. Compared to language, now there is a comparison. Compared to language, all other inventions pale its significance. It means in these 3 lines, again he is giving preference to language, because he says that when we compare language to all other inventions pale in significance. That means their significance reduces. Since everything we have ever achieved depends on language and originates from it, again he is just praising language, that whatever has been achieved till now is just because of language. And then till now it's again talking about the same thing. So same summary, sub-summary. Without language, we could never have embarked on our ascent to unparalleled power over all other animals and even over nature itself. And then again in these 2 lines, he's praising language. He's saying that without language, nothing could have been achieved. We could never have even embarked on anything. So because of this language, we are all above other creatures animals, birds, and all that stuff, and even over nature itself. So he's talking about language, that is the importance of language. All right. So once you are able to form the sub summary, then just see the magic. Now we will go to all the headings and you will see the magic happening, that all are getting eliminated and there is only one answer. But before going there, just bear in mind that what this particular paragraph talks about language, compares language with other things, and then praising it again and again, and then that's it. All right, let's move to the questions. Differences between languages highlight their impressiveness. Okay, so there is no differences between languages. It's not like Punjabi language or Hindi language, so there is a difference between those or something like that. So there is nothing talked about differences. The way in which a few sounds are originated, so there is nothing talked about sounds. Why the sounds? Then again, no sounds. Apparently incompatible characteristics of language. Okay, so he's talking about language, but incompatible characteristics. So is he saying that the characteristics of language are incompatible? So it's not talking about that too. Even silence can be meaningful. So silence, no. While language is the most important invention of all, see the magic happening. The universal ability to use language. So he's not talking anything about using language. So he's just saying that language is the most important. So he is comparing other inventions with the language and proving that language is most important invention of all, and then he's also giving the reasons, because we have to see if the reasons are given, then only this answer is correct. Why? So reasons are given, that because of the language our existence is there, because of the language we are overpowering other creatures, we are having a control over the nature. So these are the reasons owing to which language is the most important invention of all. So it was super easy. I hope you are able to analyze the way we should be doing it and just use the same method in paragraph B. All right, let's get going. So, okay, again sub summaries. Okay, but language is foremost not just because it came first. So out of all these ones, so he's saying that language is foremost, not just because foremost is the thing which comes first, but he's saying that language is foremost for sure, but it's not because it came first. Maybe there are some other reasons. Let's see. In its own right, it is a tool of extraordinary sophistication, yet based on an idea of ingenious simplicity. This marvelous invention of composing out of 25 or 30 sounds that infinite variety of expressions, which while having in themselves no likeness to what is in our mind, allow us to disclose to others its whole secret and to make known to those who cannot penetrate it all that we imagine and all the various stirrings of our soul. I am not able to understand anything. So if I just read this way and then jump to the answer, my answer will go wrong, and it's 100% sure. So you guys are doing this thing, so you should never ever jump to the answers unless you are able to understand and form the sub summaries. You might not be having enough time in the exam, but if you will practice this way during your practice days, it is going to be a piece of cake for you in exam, because you will become habitual of forming sub summaries, and then the answer is there, and that's 100% correct. All right, let's understand it again, because we have to understand if we have to find the answer. Okay, so but language is foremost not just because it came first. Okay, in its own right. So all right, so this is okay, and here it says that in its own right, in its own right, is it a tool of extraordinary sophistication. So he says that he's here again talking about language, so he's saying that it's a tool of extraordinary sophistication, still yet based on idea of ingenious simplicity. So he's saying that language has extraordinary sophistication on one hand, and on the other hand it is quite simple, so it has a lot of simplicity. So again he is giving the importance or priority or something like that to language. So he's just praising the language. This, and then because of this all sentences, he's saying that this is marvelous invention, which is the name of the paragraph. This marvelous invention of composing out of 25 or 30 sounds. That means the language is an invention. This is a marvelous invention which has 25 or 30 sounds. So he has given 25 or 30 sounds because he's talking about all languages. Some languages might be having 26 alphabets, or maybe some having 30, some having 28 or something like that. Maybe Spanish has 26, for example, I'm not pretty sure. Japanese has 34, something like that. So he says that these languages compose of some alphabets ranging from 25 to 30 sounds, because these sounds combine together to form a language. Okay, that infinite variety of expression. So because of these 25 or 30 sounds, we are able to use language, and the language is able to produce infinite variety of expressions, which, while having in themselves no likeness to what is in our mind, allow us to disclose to others its whole secret. So because of language, we are able to talk, we are able to understand the things, we are able to disclose something. So because of so basically the use of language, maybe what language does. So till now what he's talking about language. So he's saying that language is a tool which is sophisticated, simple, marvelous, and infinite variety of expressions, and with the help of which we can disclose secrets and something like that. Okay, so he's giving these points for the language till now. So some points for language. Okay, and to make known to those who can penetrate it all that we can imagine, and all the various stirrings of our soul. Okay, so because of the language, we are able to talk, we are able to express our feelings, we are able to get closer to our soul, we are able to express, we are able to disclose our secrets or something like that. This was how in 1660 the renowned French grammarian of the Port Royal Abbey near Versailles distilled the essence of language. So he's giving some example, and he's saying that he's distilling the essence of language, and no one since has celebrated more eloquently the magnitude of its achievement. So he's saying that he was the one who praised the language so much, who distilled the essence of the language, that he did so much for the language that no one since then has celebrated it with more enthusiasm, the magnitude of its achievement of language. Okay, so here he has given one example, and then again he's saying that celebration or something like that. Okay, even so there is just one flaw. Now here he is giving flaws in all the hymns of praise for the homage to language's unique accomplishments. So he's talking about accomplishments. Conceals a simple yet critical incongruity. So it's simple but critical. Language is mankind's greatest invention, except of course that it was never invented. This apparent paradox is at the core of our fascination with language, and it holds many of its secrets. And then in the last things he's talking something not very good about the language. So he's saying that it's the greatest invention, it's simple, and then paradox, it holds many secrets. Okay, so we are able to form the sub summaries. Now before going to the answers, let's think once again in your brain that what this paragraph talks about. So he's giving positives and negatives, and some positives of the language and then some negatives of the language. Maybe basically some points, some positive points and then some negative points. All right. Differences between languages highlight their impressiveness. So he's not talking about various languages, that language 1, language 2, language 3. So there is a difference between these languages because of which they are impressive. So he's not talking about that. The way in which a few sounds are organized in a convey a huge range of meaning. Okay, so he talks about sounds that there are 25 to 30, but he's not talking that these few sounds convey a meaning. So he's talking nothing about meaning. By the sounds used in different languages are not identical. So he's not talking anything about identical. Apparently incompatible characteristics. Okay, so he's talking something about characteristics of language. So he's talking something, he's giving some positive characteristics and some negative characteristics. Okay, so we'll not eliminate it. Even silence can be meaningful. So he's not talking about this, that if a person is silent then it's meaningful. He's not talking about that. This is done. The universal ability to use language, universal ability. So no, he's giving some characteristics. So apparently incompatible characteristics of language, because he has used the word yet, means he's giving some positive, and then he's saying that there are some positive, but there are some negative. That's why it's paradoxical. Means something positive and something negative, means it's something positive about language and something negative about language, which makes it incompatible. I mean, the positives and negatives are incompatible. And characteristics, so yes, because even if the word this was not there, incompatible, since still we should be 100% sure that he's talking about characteristics, positives and negatives. And now because of the incompatibility between positive and negatives, so this is also correct. Apparently incompatible characteristics of language. See, every point gets eliminated very easily. Alright, I hope you are able to form sub summaries of this one. You are following the same method and you are getting it correct. So the answer is 6th and 4th. Let's form some sub summaries again. Language often seems so skillfully drafted, okay, that one can hardly imagine it as anything other than the perfect handiwork of a master craftsman. So he says that language is so skillfully drafted, that the language is so skillfully made, that one can hardly imagine it as anything other than perfectly handiwork of a master craftsman. Craftsman means he's just joining the pieces and then forming a masterpiece. Similarly in language, few alphabets when come together, they form a language, a meaning. That means it's a perfect artwork of a craftsman. So it's skillfully drafted. It is so skillfully drafted that everyone gets to know that language is just a masterpiece. Okay, how else could this instrument make so much out of barely 3 dozen measly morsels of sound? Okay, so he is asking a question. In themselves, these configurations of mouth, this is ABCD, something like that, and so on, amount to nothing more than a few haphazard spits. Third, language often seems so skillfully drafted that one can hardly imagine it as anything other than the perfect handiwork of a master craftsman. Okay, so he says that language is so skillfully drafted or made, that one can hardly imagine it as anything other than the perfected handiwork of a master craftsman. So everyone would, without any doubt consider language to be a masterpiece because it is so skillfully drafted. I mean, the alphabets are getting connected and then they are, making a masterpiece which is a language basically. All right. How else could this instrument means language, make so much out of barely 3 dozen measly morsels of sound? So he says that how could this instrument means language, make so much out of just 3 dozens. 12 threes are 36, means just 30 to 36 alphabets. So the synonym for alphabets, so he's saying measly morsels of sound. So he's saying that how can just 30 to 36 alphabets combine and form a language which is considered as a masterpiece. So here so in this sub-summary he's talking about connecting the alphabets and then making something out of it. That is, we add EAT, means eat. So just connecting the alphabets and forming something, drafting something which is considered as a masterpiece, and this is drafted very skillfully. So he's talking about language. Sub-summary and then next sub-summary. In themselves, these configurations of morsels, here now he's giving examples. These measly morsels, that is PBV, KG, H, something like that, and so on, amount to nothing more than a few haphazard spits and splutters. So he's saying that these words just connect, and these are just haphazard. That is, sometimes double A comes, sometimes a single T comes, sometimes like whatever, like if I write comprehension, then he says these are just haphazard spits and splutters. Splits and splutters means they are just, these are just a few alphabets. These are haphazard, they are getting connected, and they are forming a masterpiece. Random noises with no meaning, no ability to express, no power to explain. So these are just random spits and splutters. I mean, they are just getting connected. These are just random noises and they have no meaning, no ability to express, or no power to explain. So he's talking something negative about that, but why, we don't know. Let's read it here. But run them through the cogs and wheels of a language machine. Okay, yes, exactly. So he's saying that this thing is haphazard. So here he is talking about haphazard thing. Haphazard thing means just coming and going, which has no meaning. So this is called haphazardness, spits and sputters. So if we write it like this, these are just random noises, T, D, K, G, but they have no meaning. They have no, these ones if written together have no ability to express, no power to explain. But here comes the thing. But run them through the cogs and wheels of a language machine. Let it arrange them in some very special order, and there is nothing that these meaningless streams of air cannot do, from sighing the intermingled boredom of existence to unraveling the fundamental order of the universe. So here he's talking that if we are writing these ones together in a haphazard manner, then it's nothing good. These ones are not able to convey any meaning, expression, or power. But if we arrange them meaningfully, then there comes a meaning. If I write comprehension as N, P, E, C, M, so there is no meaning. But when I arrange it and I say comprehension, that means there is some meaning. So now what he's talking about. So when we connect these three sub-summaries, so he is talking about the rearrangement. So he's saying, when we arrange them, in a manner, in a perfect manner, then the meaning comes, and this is a artwork. So let's eliminate differences between languages. Highlight. Okay, so there is, he's not talking about different languages. Okay, so no. The way in which few sounds are organized to convey a huge range of meaning. So a very simple and straightforward answer. So the way in which few sounds are, which ones? These ones are organized to convey. Organized means from this one to this one. Organized comprehension to convey a huge range of meaning. So when these ones are connected together in a meaningful way, when they are organized, so they convey a meaning. So straightforward. So there is no need of reading other ones, I would say. But still, just to make it sure that we are 100% correct. We are 100% correct, but just let's read them. The ones which are left. Why the sounds used in different languages are not identical. So he's not talking anything about identical thing. Even silence, not talking about silence. The universal ability to use universal. He's not talking about anything about universality. So see how simple. So just practice this one. It won't help you unless you practice it. So wherever you are practicing, however you are practicing, just follow this method. Just practice, and then you will see the magic happening in exam. When you will follow this method, there would be no ifs and buts finding the answer. The answer would be in front of your eyes, no matter what. So just apply this method. It seems to be time taking, but when you practice it, it will be a piece of cake for you. It won't take that longer. All right, now the next one. All right, the most extraordinary thing about language, however, so now he's talking about most extraordinary thing. So this everything is extraordinary, but the most extraordinary thing about language, however, is that one doesn't have to be a genius to set its wheel in motion. So a child who is just 6 years old, he's not genius in a particular language. However, even if he's able to join some words, then he's able to understand that language, speak, express. So this is the most ordinary thing, that one need not to be genius to set its wheels in motion. The language machine, so he's saying that language is a machine. Language machine allows just about everybody from pre-modern foragers in the subtropical savanna to post-modern philosophers in the suburban sprawl to tie these meaningless sounds. So we'll tie these meaningless sounds together into an infinite variety of subtle senses. Okay, so what he's talking about? So he's talking about wherever people stay, like even if they are genius, even if they are naive, even if they don't know anything, or barely anything, they are able to speak. So here he's giving a range of area that from this one to this one, everyone is able to tie these meaningless sounds, and then he's able to form a language, a word, and express, and all apparently without the slightest exertion. Yet it is precisely this deceptive ease which makes language a victim of its own success. Okay, now he is talking something negative about that. All right. Since in everyday life, its trumps are usually taken for granted. So we take language for granted. Okay. The wheels of language run so smoothly that one rarely bothers to stop and think about all the resourcefulness and expertise that one must have gone into making it tick. Okay. So he's saying that one need not to be, a genius at this one. So whenever we talk, we just never stop, think about it. So we become so genius at it that when we speak, when we practice, so we don't stop in between. That's why the wheels of this language run so smoothly that one rarely bothers to stop and think about this one. So language conceals art. So he's saying that language is some kind of art surrounding that. All right, so here he's talking that you need not to be genius. So even if you are residing in X part of the world, Y part of the world, even if you are genius, even if you are starter, so you just can speak, can use the language. You need not to bother. You take it for granted. I mean, everyone can speak it. All right, so let's eliminate real quick. Differences, no. Okay, so this is done. Why the sounds used in language are not identical? Nothing is, being talked about being identical sounds. Every silence, no silence. Why? Okay, this is done. The universal ability to use language. Okay, so this is the point. Universal ability means everyone has the ability to use the language. One need not to be a genius at it. So he has given various regions where people live, and they are able to use the language regardless of their ability, of their region, of their intelligence, or nothing like that. I mean, everyone is able to use the language. So this is the universal ability. So very straightforward. So for D, it is going to be 7, yes. Alright, let's solve the other ones real quick and we should be all good. Now just stop the video in between, try to use this method, try to understand it, form the sub-summaries very clearly, and then there you go. Alright, hurry up. Often it is only the estrangement of foreign tongues with their many exotic and outlandish features that brings home the wonder of language's design. One of the showiest stunts that some languages can pull off is an ability to build up words and breath-breaking length and thus express in one word what English takes a whole sentence to say. The Turkish word is this. Okay, so he's talking about Turkish language. To take one example, means nothing less than you are one of those whom we can't turn into a town dweller. Okay, so the meaning of this one in Turkish is same as the meaning of this in English. So he's talking about two languages. So probably the answer is the one which talks about two languages. Let's see, in case you were wondering, this monstrosity really is one word, not merely many different words squashed together. Most of its components cannot even stand up on their own. All right. For example, we are unable to, eliminate. Then even we should not be, having any problem because we are just left with 1, 3, and 5. So if we are unable to understand this one, if we are, short of time, just skip it, just do this one. Maybe this is the straightforward one, and then we will be left with 2 options, and then we will choose one of those. So for example, I'm unable to understand this one. I'm sitting in exam, so I'll just not, waste a lot of time here. I will just jump to this one. Let's form the sub-summaries real quick. And if that sounds like someone of freak, then consider Sumerians, okay? So he is talking something about Sumerians, the language spoken on the banks of Euphrates some 5,000 years ago by the people who invented writing and thus enabled the documentation of history. A Sumerian word like this, when he had made it suitable for her, might seem rather trim compared to Turkish colossus above. Alright, so have that meaning in your mind. What is so impressive about it, however, is not its lengthiness, but rather the reverse, the thrifty compactness of its construction. The word is made up of different slots, each corresponding to a particular portion of meaning. The sleek design allows single sounds to convey useful information. Okay, single sounds to convey useful information. Okay, so he's talking about conveying information, and in fact even the absence of a sound has been enlisted to express something specific. If you were to ask which bit in the Sumerian word corresponds to the pronoun it in the English translation when he had made it suitable for her, then the answer would have to be nothing. Mind you, a very particular kind of nothing, the nothing that stands in the empty slot in the middle. The technology is so fine-tuned then that even a non-sound, when carefully placed in particular position, has been invested with a specific function. Who could possibly have come up with such a nifty contraption? option. All right, so these two we are not able to understand. Why? Because I followed the same method you had been following. I read these ones and then I try to find the answer. I am not able to. Maybe I'll just pick one of these ones, but I am not 100% sure, because I did not use the method I used in first 4 questions. So this is what is happening with you. So you are just reading it and then jumping straight forward to the answer. You didn't understand the meaning, you didn't form the sub-summaries, you didn't connect the sub-summaries, and then how would you be able to get the answer, which is 100% correct? So try to find the difference between the way you had been using, and the way you will be using now to solve the list of headings. So just stop for a moment, try to form the sub-summaries, and then you will be there with your answer. Boom. Alright, so this was all about today's lesson. So we are left with 2. So this is your homework. Try to use the same method. We are just very close because we are left with only 3. And then try to use the same method and see if you are able to find the correct ones. If you have any doubts, just drop a quick comment. I will look into it and will help you. Alright, so this was all for today. See you tomorrow.